Lesson 7.2, Video 3, Factoring by Grouping. Now there's a couple prerequisites here for us to factor by grouping. And that is, we cannot do this unless all of these conditions exist. 4 or more terms. Terms have common factors that can be grouped together, and I'll show you what that looks like. And there are 2 common factors that are identical or additive inverses. And we'll talk about that as well. So what does it mean to factor by grouping? Well, we have 4 terms in this case, so we're going to look at the first 2. What is the greatest common factor of those first 2? A 3. 3 goes into 6 and 3. They both have an a. So if I divide both of those by 3a, I will get 2x, and again I'm dividing 3ay divided by 3a, and we get just the y. The other 2, and this is what we're grouping here, they both have a b, so I say plus b, and I'm dividing them by a b then if I'm factoring it out, and I'm left with 2x plus y. Now notice that as I look at the whole thing that's remaining, in the parentheses you have exactly the same thing, and that's the purpose of factoring by grouping. So if I notice that the 2 terms, this is one term right here, and this is the other, what do they both have? They both have a 2x plus y. Now before I was taking out a monomial, now I'm factoring out a binomial. And when we factor something out, it is multiplied by what's left. Well, if I divide this one by 2x plus y, I'm left with 3a. If I divide this one by 2x plus y, I'm left with b. And this is our final answer. So your factored form is, in this case, the product of 2 binomials. Next one. First 2 terms, they both have a b. If I factor out a b, I'm left with a plus 5. Next 2 terms. Now, notice that my lead term is negative. And I want to give you a heads up that most of the time, if that's the case, it's a good idea to factor out a negative. Now, notice that none of them have anything, they don't have anything in common, but I can factor out a negative 1. And if I do that, if I factor out a negative 1, I have basically just changed the signs of what is in the parentheses. Now notice, I had to do that because if I hadn't taken that negative out, I would not have had the same thing in both parentheses. I would have had a negative a minus 5, which means we cannot go any further. But the ability to factor out a negative 1 will help you quite a bit in the process of factoring by grouping. Because now, they both have an a plus 5 in parentheses. If I take that away, you're left with b minus 1. And that's factored. Next one. First 2 have greatest common factor is 3. They both have a y. So if I divide each one by 3y, I get x plus 5. Next one. Notice that the first one is negative, so I'm going to take out a negative 4 because they both are divisible by 4. If I do that, I'm left with x plus 5 again. Of those 2 things, they both have an x plus 5, which is the goal of factoring by grouping, times what's left, 3y minus 4. And that's factored. Our last one, if I focus on the first 2, they have a c in common. If I do that, if I factor out a c, we have 2d plus 7. The next 2, notice the front one's negative. They don't have anything in common, so I'm just going to factor out a negative 1, which gives me 2d, positive now, plus 7. What do they both have? They both have a 2d plus 7. And I'm going to multiply what's left if I take those away. and you're left with c minus 1. And this ends Lesson 7.2, Video 3.